As we saw in the introduction to this DVD, the equipment required for a commercial brewery like the Granite takes up a fair amount of space. But you can make your own brewery at home using all the same equipment and ingredients on a much smaller scale. To demonstrate, here's a direct comparison between the equipment used by Ron Keefe at the Granite and the equipment we use in Doug's laundry room. The first major piece of equipment comes at the first step of the brewing process. We use a grinder to crack the malt to the proper consistency for brewing. Ron produces beer in high volume, so he buys his grains already ground. Our grinder requires elbow grease, although you can purchase an adapter for the drill to turn the handle for you. Our throughput is a lot less than Ron's, but in the end, we achieve the same consistency. Ron has another volume advantage. He measures his grains by the bag, 25 kilos per bag. We might use 6 to 8 kilos per batch, so we need to measure out our ingredients with the help of a scale. The mash tun that we use is conceptually similar to Ron's. Both are used to steep the grain in hot water. But, as you can see, Ron's is stainless steel on the inside with wood cladding on the outside to hold the temperature constant. Our mash tun is made up of 2 food-grade plastic buckets, one inside the other. The top bucket has holes in the bottom and holds the grains. The bottom bucket holds the hot water and has a spigot that will allow the hot water to flow out when the mashing process is completed. We use a piece of closed cell foam to insulate the outside of our mash tun. Both we and Ron sparge our grains using the mash tun, but of course Ron's process is much more mechanical, whereas us, we use a watering can. The next major piece of equipment is the boiler. Again, Ron's is brass and is heated with electricity. We also use electricity to bring our wort to a boil, but the physical similarities end there. Once again, we use food-grade plastic buckets with a heating element suspended near the bottom of the bucket. In our case, the heating element requires a 220-volt outlet, like the kind used in an electric clothes dryer. Sometimes we use a stainless steel pot and a propane burner. This setup, of course, can only be used outside. Ron's fermenter is a stainless steel vat that is clad in copper. Ron also has another distinct advantage in the flow from his boiler to his primary fermenter. He has electric pumps to transfer the boiling liquid, whereas we have to use a hose, pails, and a lot of caution. Moreover, his pumps run through heat exchangers to quickly cool down the wort. Our primary fermenter is, you guessed it, a food-grade plastic bucket. We put our primary fermenter containing the hot wort into a laundry tub full of cold water to help cool it down. The secondary fermenter is also made out of food-grade plastic, but this time it isn't a bucket. It's more a bottle shape, called a carboy, and allows for a bung and airlock to be inserted at the top to prevent harmful bacteria from entering the beer at this critical stage of the process. Ron's secondary fermenter is a stainless steel conditioning tank that also prevents bacteria from entering the beer without the need for a separate airlock. From this basic description, you can see how we make beer. We make small volumes, and our major pieces of equipment are made from food-grade plastic. Ron, who brews a much larger volume, relies on stainless steel and copper equipment, but our collection of buckets serve the same function as Ron's professional gear. There are other small bits and pieces we use in the brewing process, spoons, siphon hoses, and all manner of other things, but we'll introduce you to those as we go along. Of course, if you're mechanically inclined or willing to spend some dough, you can develop fancier equipment and find ways of making your brewing equipment and processes more like that of the professionals.
Ron uses the same traditional ingredients for beer that we do: barley, hops, water, and yeast. Malted barley comes in dozens of varieties, from very light malts used for lagers to very dark malts, which are used in stouts. The malt chosen will have a direct impact on the flavor, color, and clarity of the beer produced. Many beer recipes call for more than one type of malt, which you will see when we make our brew. Hops give beer its bitter flavor, but they also play an important role as a natural preservative for beer. As with malted barley, there are lots of varieties of hops. Some are better for making ales and stouts, which tend to be more bitter, and others are better for making lagers, which tend to be much less bitter. You can purchase hops in a flour form or in a compressed pellet form. Although the volume of flowers is much greater, the weight is the same, so 2 ounces of hop flowers is equivalent to 2 ounces of pellets. Pellets are generally easier to work with, which may be why they are the choice of many commercial breweries, including the Granite. Yeast plays a key role in making beer, but it isn't really an ingredient because it's alive. Yeast turns the sugar from the malted barley into alcohol and carbon dioxide, 2 of the best things about beer. By and large, we stick to these main ingredients when we make our beer, but do sometimes use adjuncts like flaked maize that we think gives beer a refreshing flavor profile. Other additives sometimes used by brewers include honey, licorice, molasses, and fruit flavors. Customizing a brew for a unique flavor experience is part of the fun of home brewing.